I had a very prominent financial advisor on yesterday who is fluid in Bitcoin, a believer, and basically said, Angelo, you wouldn't believe how many millennials I have, whether relatively poor, middle class, or richer, where their investment portfolio, he said it with a little tongue in cheek, is Bitcoin and Tesla. And I said to myself, I didn't have the guts to mention it to him, given that they have a long time horizon, I'm not so sure that's a bad idea. Obviously, he implied they need more diversity. And in theory, they do. I get it. But if they have a 30, 40, 50-year time horizon, I'm not so sure that right now, that was the worst thing I ever heard.
You know, it reminds me of a decade ago. I wrote a book called The Mobile Wave, and the mobile wave is all about how Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google are going to launch billion user digital networks and dematerialize mobile devices, retail, news, information, etc. And I bought a bunch of Apple stock and I bought a bunch of Amazon stock back before it went up by a factor of 20. And all of these conventional money managers on Wall Street, they would all, hedge funds paying, charging 2 and 20, they would all try to give me advice. And their advice was, well, Amazon keeps going up. You might want to diversify out of that and buy some other retailers. And my answer is, 15, and you can find this on YouTube, I'm on the record, 15,000 companies are going to get destroyed by Amazon. There's only going to be one winner. And so if your diversification is selling the winner to buy the losers. And so people, you can put on a suit and a tie and you can say, I've been in the business 30 years and I'm protecting your money. But if your advice to the millennial is sell the winner to buy the losers, you're destroying their wealth. And the same is true with Apple. People would literally say with a straight face back in 2012, well, every time Apple doubles, we're going to sell half of it, and we're going to buy other computer companies. Well, you're going to buy IBM and HP and Dell Computer. And the problem with that is Apple's going to dematerialize all of them, and pretty soon they'll all be destroyed. They're going to zero. We got to the point where Apple was 150% of the earnings of the entire mobile phone industry, right? Which means that they made money and the collective sum of every other company in the industry lost half as much as they made. And it's not a complicated idea. In the digital world, if I can launch a network which will go to 1 billion people that can actually deliver them a product for a nickel over the weekend, that's like the most powerful thing in the history of mankind for creating economic value. You're going to diversify out of that. You're going to sell your Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple so you can buy a diversified portfolio of non-technology, traditional 20th century companies. And that's the same issue right now. I mean, the reason that the money managers are wrong to put 2% of their portfolio in Bitcoin is because they're investing 98% of their portfolio in wealth destroying fiat derivatives, right? It's like you're back in Argentina. I'm telling you that the peso is going to devalue by a factor of 100 against the dollar. So the dollar, look at the blue dollar rate against the peso. It went from 1 to 1 till it bought 4 pesos, and then 8, and then 16, then 30. When the dollar buys 30 pesos, you're going to sell half of your dollars to buy back into the peso, because then it went to 60, and then it went to 120, and then it went to 150. And the fundamental thing you're missing is if you're owning an investment which is derived based upon existing cash or the expectation of future cash flows, and if the currency is losing 20% or 15% of its economic power every year, you're just selling the winner to buy the loser, and you're putting increasing amounts of your portfolio into something going to zero. And it's hopeless, right? I mean, it literally is hopeless. I own the domain name hope.com, HOPE. I bought it about 20 years ago. I waited for something to do with it. Well, I found something with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is hope. If you go to hope.com, you'll see all of our materials, all of our research, all of my videos on Bitcoin. Those millennials that are buying Bitcoin are buying hope. And when they're buying Tesla, they're buying hope. And if you're buying a diversified portfolio of companies in Zimbabwe or Venezuela, it's hopeless.